Good morning, everybody. Where's everybody else at? What'd you guys do?
When?
Summer's over.
I went to a bonfire Saturday night. I went driving around in the desert Friday night. Saturday night, I went driving around the desert. I looked at all these beautiful things, the silver mines. They didn't fall in. Saturday night, had a nice, great big party with all my high school classmates. Some of us went down to the bar, and I met a new friend who was willing to dance with me. And Sunday.
Was it a guy or a girl?
A girl, of course. Well, actually, one of the guys could have danced with me. I wouldn't have bothered that. Wouldn't bother you either. And then, of course, Sunday I spent the morning looking at Indian petroglyphs, thousands of them. And then, of course, Sunday night, beautiful photo shoot of the eclipse. Nice drive back to the valleys.
Sounds like you had a great time. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm well.
Did you all meet Hans?
I think we know each other from somewhere. We're gonna have to explore that.
Yeah.
Good to meet you again.
Hans,
They wanted to let you introduce him.
oh, who did? Rodney?
You could.
Oh.
I'm just the other end of the subject.
I'm
just visiting.
He's visiting. Hans is a friend of mine who is looking for a career change. He is an accomplished person in his own right. He's been he's an All-American golfer for years at the University of New Mexico. And for the last 15 years, he's been a head pro at a local golf country club. So if any of you want to learn how to golf, he's out for hire for that. And he can work with anyone, no matter how athletic or spastic you may be.
Challenge.
And I'm one of the spastic ones who think I can play golf, but I get humbled every time I try. So anyhow, Hans is taking a look at us and what we do in our profession. So hopefully everybody's on good behavior, right?
Yeah, so far.
All right, very good. Okay, and Diane has joined our company. Diane has been in the real estate industry for over, 20 years now? 16 years, okay. And by the way, really important, there is an election that's on your ballot for the board of directors of the Southland Regional Association of Realtors. And Diane is a candidate for the board of directors. And she was nominated by the nominating committee, which means that she was vetted through a whole, difficult process and found to be worthy enough to be recommended by the nominating committee. Not everybody is nominated by the nominating committee. So I want to encourage you all to vote. You don't have to vote once, but you need to vote. So you have to go online to srer.com. And I think on the left panel, typically there is something that says elections. You click it, and then you scroll down to all the candidates, and you vote for the one you like best, and that is going to be, my recommendation is Diane. Okay? You can vote for other candidates too, but when you vote for other candidates, it takes away from her votes. So vote for her, and if you don't know anyone else, don't vote for them. Got it? Did y'all hear that? All right. If you know people you like, vote for them. If you know people you don't like,
I have my choices.
you know what you do. Very good. Very good. Make sure she's one of your choices. Okay. Very good. Okay. So let me just tell a little bit about Diane. She got engaged with William, which is always a challenge. William is very meticulous, very particular, and very exact. And you'll find him to be very engaging. But he's very involved in the community. He's an advocate in the northwest San Fernando Valley. And actually all over the city now. He's involved in a lot of different things. But Diane is on the Pro Standards Committee. Professional standards has to do with how you behave. And so if you are misbehaving, you may end up going before her committee, and that's not a good thing, right? I believe you've been on the grievance committee as well?
I was chair of the grievance committee for 2 years, vice chair for 1.
Okay. And so the grievance committee is that if you have a claim against another realtor, you can file a claim that goes to the grievance committee, they vet it. Or if you've been misbehaving and somebody files a claim for you against you for business practices, violation of real estate law, or just bad ethics, then you will have to go before the grievance committee. So she's very skilled at knowing what to do and what not to do. I don't think any of you have had any problems in the past. I don't expect you to have any problems in the future. But Diane is a great resource. But more important than that, Diane and I are teammates now.
Yay!
Yeah, she's teammate. And I've asked her to come on board as a manager to help manage his office, to help grow the company, to help put systems in place that we have not had in the past. I think she has a good thing to start with. She's been in the business for a number of years. She's very experienced at that, and she's very likable. Lots of people like her, and she's extremely knowledgeable. So feel free. Her door is open. She's back in the office where Paul Yu was at, so that's where she's at now until we relocate our escrow, then we'll figure out where to go with that, okay? So that's Diane Seidel. Right, is there anything else that I missed?
Nothing at all. I will be bringing information. I did an arbitration yesterday. Today's not the day. But when there's something that's interesting that happens that may just go by a number of us, I will be sharing those things. So I'll be bringing you lots of information.
Okay, great, Diane. Thank you so much. Let me share with you some exciting news that I learned over the last 10 days. As you know, I was not here last week. I was at a 2-day workshop on being a council of real estate specialists, all right? And so it's a designation. It's probably the most coveted. Can you hit those lights for me, Rodney? And can you go turn the air on a little bit higher? Yes, sir. So CRS designation is one that probably has the most referrals transacted back and forth across the country than any of the other designations. You have designations, right? But you have your MLP, military relocation.
And I did the
Probate.
probate and the ABS.
Okay.
Accredited buyers.
Accredited buyer's agent. Okay. Anybody else have designations? All right. Okay. So let me share with you some listing strategies.
Oh, and notary service.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
The big one.
There you go. I'm going to share with you some things that I think will help you guys make money. This is a business where you are an independent contractor. Nobody can make you do anything. We can encourage you to do things. What I try to do is always bring value to you so you'll know what you can do to grow your business. Your business can be as great or as lackluster as you want it to be. It's up to you. We have agents here who are part-timers, and if they make $30,000 a year, they are ecstatic. And then we have agents here who are making $250,000 to $300,000 a year, and they are beaming until they have tax day. Then they have to figure out what to do, right? So my goal is to help all of you have a tax problem. A tax problem because you're making so much money, you have to figure out what to do with your money, how to store your money, how to preserve your money from being exacted from you through taxes, which means you probably have to go out and buy some real estate or invest in your business and do other things like that. So let me share with you some of the things that I learned, and let's see if I can. Anybody relate to that?
Yeah.
Yeah, right here, listings. And the key for having consistent income in this business is getting listings. The key to having consistent income is what?
Listings.
Listings. When you list, there's an old saying, when you list, you last in this business. Not as in the last member to the party, but lasting. You're going to endure for the highs and the lows of this business. So you must be a listing agent if you want to have consistent income. You can work with buyers, and I encourage you all to do that, but make your primary source of business that of being a listing agent. And you will find out you'll have some great things that will come out of it. So here's some things that we're going to talk about today. We're going to understand the benefits of preparing for your listing appointments. There are some benefits. How many of you ever hear of the term called winging it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who wing it. They just show up, right? Like me when I'm playing golf, I'm ready to pulling my pants up, don't warm up, and I get over the ball, and it goes all crazy, right? That's called winging it, right? So you don't want to wing it. You want to be prepared. Anybody here was a Girl Scout or a Boy Scout? All right, okay. Well, the motto for the Scouts is what?
Be prepared.
Be prepared. You need to be prepared. So we're going to talk about asking the right questions. And the right questions will help guide your clients along the path that they actually want to go. Many of them are not clear about where they want to go. They know they want to sell, but they don't know exactly when or how and who's going to represent them in the sale of their property. So we're going to talk about some of the things that get to the core of what they are motivated by, what's motivating them, okay? And so you don't do it by dominating the conversation, doing all the talking. You have to be like Dumbo the elephant. Anybody remember Dumbo the elephant?
Oh, yeah, he knew how to fly.
What was it that was really significant about Dumbo's body?
He knew how to fly.
No, that was not significant about his body. Listen
Oh.
to me. What was significant about his body?
He had big ears
He
with
had
which to
big
fly.
ears. He had big ears, okay? And those big ears mean that you are supposed to listen. If you want to be successful in any business, you need to be a good listener, right? So, but you have to ask the right questions so that you can get the correct answer. But you must be a good listener. I'll tell you something that I think is kind of profound. As you guys know, I have strong faith, and I believe that God created the heavens and the earth. That's just my belief. You don't have to, but that's my belief. And I believe that when He created us, He made no mistakes. Whatever way we came out is the way He wanted us to be. And I noticed something as I look around this room at all of you. There's only, 6 people here? Yeah, including myself, there's 7. So the rest of them are really missing out. So here's what I noticed. I noticed that you have one nose. That's what I noticed. I noticed you have beautiful eyes and you have 2 of them. I noticed that you have 2 ears. And I noticed that you have 1 mouth. That's what I noticed. And guess what? God had a plan. His plan was to give you the right proportionate tools to do the right job. And you may notice that He gave you 2 eyes so you can look left and right. He gave you 1 mouth, but you use it for other things. You eat, you talk, right? But He gave you 2 ears. And I will share with you a secret. You want to be successful in this business? Anybody here? I see your hands? Okay. Here's what you have to do. Remember this. You see these ears? So baby, I got baby ears. Yeah. Some of you have baby ears too. And some of you, I will talk about your ears. Okay. All right. So you have to do this. You have to use them accordingly. You have to use your hearing. You have to listen. Twice as much as you speak. Did you all hear me? Let me hear you say it. Listen twice as much as you speak. One more time. Can I hear it?
Listen twice as much as you
And
speak.
just one more time, just make sure it gets in.
Listen twice as much as you speak.
If you listen twice as much as you speak, it's amazing what you hear. When I work with kids, and I love working with kids, kids for the most part, they're much shorter than I am. And you know what I do when I work with them? I get down low, I make eye contact, I listen. And it's amazing what kids will tell you if you just listen. Most of us don't really listen to kids. And so they start saying stuff to us and you're moving on to something else and they want to talk. And if you will just listen to them, they will just talk your head off. It's amazing. And you'll learn so much. And as a realtor coming into a house that has kids, you might want to pay attention to the kids. You might want to listen to them because they will tell the truth when parents are not, right? Kids,
Dad, you got that new job!
right. Kids will listen. All right, so conduct effective pre-listing appointment research. You all have access to a computer, right? Anybody here have a mobile device? Everybody got one? Anybody have a flip phone? Anybody got a flip phone?
My wife does.
Okay. All right. So I will tell you something. Nothing against Cynthia, but flip phones are not smart. These phones, they're smart. That's why they call smartphones, right? Flip phones are just the opposite of smart. I won't say what the word is because I don't want to say anything negative about someone you love. Okay? Create and deliver an effective pre-listing kit. You might say, what is that? Why do I need to do that? This is something that's going to soften the blow and educate your client. How many of you, when you get to a point where you think you're going to get a listing and you're sitting down with the client and you're sitting at the table, what did I do with my pen? I think I have one here. And you are so afraid to take your pen out of your pocket or your purse. Anybody have found it difficult to get from talking to actually having an agreement contract in front of the client? And have you figured out, oh wow, your hands start shaking? Because you know now this is where the rubber meets the road, and if you don't say the right thing, they just may reject you and not accept your offer, right, of services. So we're going to talk about a pre-listing appointment kit. And then we're going to talk about effective ways of what are you doing with your online marketing. Okay? You guys want to hear about that?
Yes, sir.
All right, so here's something that are some of the benefits to what we just talked about. Some of us lack confidence, right? We are unsure of ourselves. We are unsure of the information, and so we are kind of timid or we're shy, and most of us have a fear of rejection. Anybody have a fear of rejection? I don't like to be rejected. Anybody love being rejected? I don't see anybody here with their hands up. How about you? No, most of us. And so when you have higher confidence, you lessen your fear, right? Anybody, when you were a child, what was your most scariest movie? Anybody?
The alligator people.
The alligator people. Anybody? What was yours?
It was a movie.
Mine was, anybody remember Godzilla?
Actually, the first movie that really scared me the first time I saw it was The Wizard of Oz.
The Wizard of Oz was
It
kind of
was a scary
scary.
movie
Yes,
for a
it was.
7-year-old.
Yes, it was.
Those monkeys tearing the scarecrow apart like that.
All right, so
Ooh.
I want you to be confident. I want you to be prepared so that you can help position the client and you can answer the questions that they have needs for. That's what I want you to do. And I want you to have knowledge. Did you know that knowledge equals power? Did you know that people who have specialized knowledge are valued higher than people who have general knowledge? Anybody ever gone to a doctor? Anybody ever gone to a specialist? Do you know that the specialist most likely is going to get compensated at a higher rate than the generalist? Would you agree? All right. And so you need to have knowledge. And the more specialized your knowledge is, maybe you picked an area that you want to work, and so you specialize in that area. It could be a type of property, it could be a geographic area, it could be a lifestyle, it could be all these different things, but the more specialized knowledge you have, the more you're going to be valued by your prospect and your client. This gentleman here has a highly skilled knowledge when it comes to golf. He's a head pro, which means that he's not the guy who just brings out the balls. He watches you, and within a few moments he can diagnose what you need and what corrections based on your skill set he can give you to turn your whole golf game around in a matter of a half hour or so. It's pretty amazing. But he has specialized knowledge. Did that come overnight?
No, not at all.
How long did it take?
Going on 35 years right
All
now.
right. See? All right. Okay, you have to have integrity. And integrity is doing the right thing when no one else is watching. That's what integrity really boils down to. It's just doing the right thing when nobody else is watching. So I want you guys to keep that in mind. You need to understand relationships. Okay? Every time you enter into a discussion with someone, there's a relationship that's being built or not being built. So you need to understand relationships. So you need to, at the outset, when you begin to have a conversation with the seller, we're talking about listings now, you need to let them know what their role is and what's your role and what the expectation is. So when you have that meeting with them, you say, look, I want to meet with you tomorrow between this and that, and the meeting is going to take, I would say, maybe half hour, 45 minutes. Now you've let them know, so now they can accommodate their schedule. They can know that they can still pick up the kids, or take the grandkids somewhere, or go to the market, or go to class, whatever they have to do, right? So you need to give them an expectation of what your timeline is going to be and what you're asking of them. And you need to focus on discovering something. What's that? It's an open book test. It's right there. What's that?
Motives.
Motive. Motive. Motivation. Right? You need to find out what's motivating them. That's what you need to find out. That is the most important M in a transaction. It's not money. It's motivation. I will tell you something that I've learned over my 37 years in the business. I've closed about 770 transactions in my career. And what I found out is that you must have at least one motivated seller, one motivated buyer, and usually there is 2 agents involved. All you have to have is one motivated agent. You can still get the transaction through. How many of you had a transaction where the agent on the other side didn't seem to be so motivated? Mm-hmm. Did you close the transaction? Of course. Okay. All right. So motivated buyer, motivated seller, and at least one motivated agent. So you need to understand what the motivation is of the client or the prospect who you're dealing with. You need to have some enthusiasm. You need to walk into the room, not like William who's over the top of coffee, but you need to you need to have some enthusiasm where you're likable, you're making friends, right, and you're believable. So you need to have some enthusiasm so that you can help position the client and let them know that you have a positive attitude, and your enthusiasm becomes contagious. Sometimes when people are selling a home, they are scared out of their minds. Maybe they're getting a divorce, maybe they have to relocate, maybe they lost a job, maybe they're in foreclosure, maybe there's a lot of stress on the family because of a property investment that they've made, and so they are stressed out. And you need to exude some level of enthusiasm. You need to make sure that you have what is called a sellable listing. So you have to counsel the client. You have to counsel them about what it will take to get this property sold. And most of the time, the sellers have their own mind about what the property is worth. Would you agree? But they're not always going to disclose that to you. Sometimes they'll play, well, you're the realtor. You tell me, right? And sometimes if your number is not right, they're going to see ya. We're going to be ya out of here, right? So, but your job is to counsel them and help them position their property to sell, because the majority of the time the people really want to sell the property. Of course they want to get the highest price possible, but they also have other constraints like time limits. If they had more time, they would probably wait a little bit longer to get a higher price. But Lucky and I just closed a transaction a couple weeks ago. The property was valued at significantly above what the client was willing to sell it at. And so I was very concerned. I told Lucky, I said, Lucky, this property is worth a lot more than the seller is asking. So on the cautious side, Lucky, I want to put something in writing to the seller so the seller can agree that he knows that the property is worth significantly more than he's asking us to market it for. Why do you think I wanted to take that extra precautionary step, Mr. Rodney?
Because you want to repercussions. You don't want to come back and say that, hey, you want to solve this just because you want to fast sell.
That's right, because people have amnesia from time to time, or they have relatives or other counsels who come in, attorneys, accountants, friends, who will say, oh my gosh, you sold your property for $450,000 and it was worth $480,000? Oh, that realtor was terrible. So my radars were up, and they said, we need to get this client to acknowledge that they are aware that this property is valued at a higher level than he's asking us to sell it. And he said, okay, he signed it. So now if he comes back later, we can say, wait a minute, you signed this. You knew, we told you, we advised you that we could sell it for higher value. And he said, no. What's important to me is to have only one property. I don't want to own two properties. He had bought a property, moved into that property, and the one we were selling was going to be put on the market. And so his biggest concern was, I don't want to have to make two mortgage payments. I want to sell this property so I have peace of mind to get it sold quickly to move on. So you need to understand how to position the property, but also how to find out what's motivating this seller. And how did we find out? Lucky and I sat down, we counseled the client, we asked a number of questions, and he said, this is what I want to do. I have a great fear of owning two properties. So help me sell. And we sold it, and how quickly did it sell?
10 days.
10 days?
10 days.
Yeah, and escrow closed in 10 days, right?
Escrow closed in 10 days.
Oh my gosh, you could have been on that deal with me. All right, so we need to come into the meeting with better stats. Know your numbers. Okay, we are realtors. We are highly compensated. We are supposed to be experts. We're not supposed to be coming up there winging it. We're supposed to know the facts. If you don't know them, there are plenty of tools to find out what the facts are. And if you need help, we can guide you with helping you determine the facts. DOM stands for what? Yeah, it's very good. Days on market. Not dummy like days on market, right? Active, sold, expired. You need to know all this information about what's going on. You need to know how long it's taken to sell. Another number you might want to know is what is he selling for per square footage. That's another number that people who are engineers and accountants, they like to calculate that, well, this one sold at $385 a square foot, and this one's asking for $420 a square foot. They go through all those numbers, okay? So know your numbers.
To explain the big difference between the larger properties and the smaller properties, and why it's so much more for a smaller property than a larger one.
Well, sometimes it has to do with
Makes sense to them.
has to do with views, condition, different things, right? Where the property's located. Learn about elements. Here's some important stuff that we need to do. We need to have advanced, careful preparation. We need to prepare. I'm sure, Hans, when you were competing at the high level of golf, that you came to the golf course at least a day early to kind of do a practice round to see what was going on, to see where the holes were, where the balls break, where the trouble was, right? And I'm sure most of you have the ability to do some careful preparation. So learn about the elements that impact the transaction. So when you're on the phone with this client, you have not met with them yet, you're on the phone setting the appointment up. What you want to do is find out, well, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, why are you selling? And we're going to go through a number of questions you should ask. You need to find out something about the property history, because I made a faux pas a couple of days ago. I listed a property that was listed by somebody else, but then somebody else had it on hold, and I did not do all my due diligence. I did not go in and check the MLS to find out, because the guy called me up and says, I want to list this property. And so guess what? Once I found out, I called the agent and I bowed down and I said, please, I'm so sorry. I did not know that. I'm going to cancel this listing immediately. Okay? But property history would have told me that, wouldn't it? Yes? So even Mel makes mistakes. But I try to clean them up as quickly as I can. What about the market condition? If you want your listing process to run smoothly and result in a sellable listing, you need to do your pre-work. You need to provide material that forecasts the listing process. In other words, tell the seller what to expect. I'm going to meet with you, Mrs. Seller, for about a half hour. This is what we're going to go over. We're going to talk about the market condition. We're going to talk about why you want to sell and when you want to sell and where you're moving to. And, I'm going to be your agent. I'm going to help you get through that process. So when you meet with them, you don't have to spend 3 hours with them, because you've explained to them ahead of time what you're going to do and what they're going to go through. So you let the sellers know exactly what to expect. You let them know how long it's taking. I just listed a property a week ago, Woodland Hills, for $949,000. And they wanted to put it on the market for a higher price, and I said, I don't think that's a good idea. And I said, when do you want to sell? And they said, like yesterday. And I said, okay. We missed the opportunity. The window of opportunity for the highest value is already narrowing. And so we need to get this property on the market now, because we're already past Labor Day. So that's what I told them, and they listened to me somewhat. And then I gave them an analysis a couple of days ago. I said, we had an open house. We did all this. We did all this marketing. I'm recommending that we lower our price. That's what I'm recommending. So I said, please don't kill the messenger. I'm just here to bring you the news of what's going on. All right, I'm going to move on. All right, so think about this. When you're meeting with the seller, Mrs. Clay, realize that it's a job interview. That's what you're doing. You're being interviewed by this seller, and they're trying to determine, are you the right person that I should hire? So when you have a job interview, you don't show up late. You get there early, right? You do your pre-homework, right? You get there early. You unclog your mind from all the things that are juggling through your head, all the arguments you have with your spouse or your significant other, or any stress that some jerk that cut you off on the freeway, all that stuff. You get it all cleared out of your mind so that you are ready, right, for an interview. Be on time, be prepared, don't wing it, come there over-prepared, all right, and be friendly. Don't act like you're in a rush where, you just want to get this over with because it's very painful. You need to connect with the people. Hey, Virgil. All right, so pre-listing appointment research. Here's something you should do. How are you, Virgil? Pre-listing appointment research. Who knows what the property profile is? Okay, what kind of information do you get in that?
The history, the square footage,
Square footage?
background spot.
Yeah, history,
History,
right?
mortgage.
Right, mortgage,
Foreclosure.
transaction history, right?
If there's a,
Foreclosure status.
default, lot size,
Right.
dimensions, title change,
Yeah.
claims, going into trust.
All those things.
Comparable sales.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
no, that's another button on the thing.
comparable market analysis. What is that?
CMA.
That get, can I speak out?
Yeah, of course, that's what I'm asking.
Well, that educates your seller as to like-for-like homes
Mhm.
and what is sold and why perhaps something is listed at a higher price than theirs or a lower price than
Very good.
theirs. It
And
educates.
what about inventory absorption? Anybody know what that is? Yes.
How many months we have of inventory to sell.
Yeah. How many months of inventory do we have on the market? A normal market is 6 months of inventory. So if not one other house came on the market, if there was 6 months of inventory on the market to meet the demand for that market, that's a normal market in real estate. We're going to talk about what the market is today. I'm going to go through that. But the absorption rate talks about that. Here's what you can do with the client. You don't think they're doing this to you? Look at this. You think the client is looking you up?
Yes.
They're probably checking Yelp, Google, Facebook, right, LinkedIn.
I'm all over the place.
Oh my God, they either love you or they hate you, right? They're checking all these things out. So guess what? We should do our own due diligence. Maybe we'll determine that, oh my gosh, this person defrauded people in the past, and I don't want to be a part of that scam. So maybe you don't even want to do business with this person. You're interviewing them too, right? But you find these things out. It's so easy now to find things out, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So we all have a track record, right? All right. So pre-listing kit. This is what you're going to have delivered to the seller before you come to the appointment. So if you have an appointment for tomorrow, you try to get that pre-listing kit to them today. If you have an appointment later in the week, you want to get it to them as quickly as possible so they can review what you want to talk about. It's a powerful tool to use if you want to be a top listing agent. Anybody here would like to be a top listing agent? Okay, very good. All right, so this is what you have to
Did you
do.
raise your hand? Buddy, did you raise your hand? Just want to make sure.
So prepare sellers for the listing appointment. Hey, hermano, ¿cómo está? Prepare the seller for the listing appointment. Show how you add value. You need to show the seller why they should pick you, because in the San Fernando Valley, there's about 14,000 other folks who have a license to sell real estate. There's a lot of folks out there. But I will tell you something, the majority of them are not doing very good. They're just kind of limping along. But those of you who are the listing agents, I'm sure you're doing okay. How's your year going so far?
Good.
Good, okay. You get listings?
I have 2,
Okay.
and yeah, and,
You've got a number of listings this year, right?
yes.
Yeah, that's why your year's going good. How about you?
I've been pretty good.
Yeah? You get listings?
I'm good listening.
All right, okay, that's the key,
I
right?
think about 6 so far this
All
year.
right, very good. All right, so differentiate yourself from other agents. Why you? You have, XYZ behind your name, or, you're cute, or you're smart, or, you're lovable, whatever. Why you instead of someone else? You need to differentiate yourself from the rest of the pack. Because remember, you're on a job interview. Why should they hire you instead of those other 13,999 people, right? What should go in the pre-listing kit? How about a cover letter? How about a brief description and background of yourself, right? And don't just say, I'm great, I'm here. Just say something that's documentable, right? Verifiable. Credentials and awards. Maybe you have some credentials. What are your credentials? When you get in the business, what's your credential? Have a college degree, a pro golfer, head pro, right? What are your credentials? All right, we'll come back to you.
Professional realtor.
Well, see, the thing is you ask me that question, I'm going, which one of the 10 does he want first?
Well, one of your.
That's why the hesitation, I mean, I can pick up the best one.
Gotcha. So a resume, anybody know what a resume is? Yeah, these are the kind of things that will go in your pre-listing kit. So that when they are sitting with you face to face, they don't have to think about, well, how long have they been in business and why should I hire them and who is this person, all that stuff. What about your website? Wouldn't it be great if you had a website and you could say, well, you go to my website, you can search for homes, you can find out a little bit more about me. You guys know we had a guy from Realty Tech that came about 2 months ago. He made a presentation. You can get a website that's very fully functioning, has all the MLS access for how much money? $100 to make and $50 per month. $50 per month amounts to about $600 a year. How many of you have gotten a commission for $600?
They're usually bigger.
Yeah, a lot bigger. Yeah, a lot bigger than $600. So it's an investment in you. If you don't have a fully functioning website, you need to. It doesn't cost you a lot of money. $50 a month, that's like, taking your family out to dinner once. And if you got a big family, you might have to wash dishes because you don't have enough money, right? All right, testimonials. Testimonials, you ask, where do you get them from? You ask your clients, hey, can you say something good about me? Did you enjoy your experience with me? Press clippings, that's William, he's all over the place, right? Service commitment letter, this is what you're committing to do for them. So these are the things you're going to have when you go, okay? All right, let me move on a little quicker. Demonstrate your expertise. If you're working with millennials, anybody who's 35 years and younger, they're called millennials. You're going to need to have some expertise in these areas here. Social media presence, website. Anybody know what a QR code is?
Yes.
Okay. Property URL. How about a property URL? Anybody know what that is?
Yes.
Okay. Market research, blogging posts, online marketing campaigns. And I would encourage you guys, if have those things available. Okay, so here's what you need to do. You need to know how to ask the right question. What are you looking for in a great agent? Is that a good question? Okay. While working with a real estate agent in the past, what was your biggest disappointment? If I could fill those areas of need, would you feel comfortable working with me? Can you want
Is
her?
that a fill or a feel in the first one?
It should be filled. If I could fill.
Fill in those areas.
That's wrong. It
That's
should
what
be.
I'm saying.
It should be F-I-L-L. Thank you, Ryan. Pardon?
Right.
Should be F-I-L-L. Okay. Darn, well, that's my second mistake today.
No, it was
just
not a
kidding.
mistake.
Just
It was
kidding.
probably a spell check thing, and just like took the F and put the feel in there, and,
I take,
automatic finishing things.
I take
They're not
responsi-
our fault.
I take responsibility for it, wait a minute. Okay, thanks for covering for me though. You got my back, I appreciate it. All right, so ask the right question and you guide the prospect. So asking the right question gets you the right answer. So this is what I usually start out with. So Mr. and Mrs. Seller, how does it feel to be selling your home? That's usually what I'll open up with. I realize that selling residential real estate is very emotional, isn't it?
Yes.
You will see some of the highs and lows of emotions when you're representing. We'll have all this on our website. You'll find out that when you represent a buyer or a seller in real estate, it gets very emotional. You see the highs and lows. It's up there. It's not quite as high as a marriage or a death or a divorce, but it's right up there. It's very high emotional states. And people get really freaked out and upset over little things when it comes to selling real estate for their principal residence. So, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, why are you selling your home? What does this question get to?
Motivation.
Here's one. So what effect will this move have on you and your family? Now you'll find out if this person's sensitive to family, and I go, I don't care, I got a new job and I'm moving, they're gonna come with me, right? Or I'll leave them behind, right? You'll find out that the kids may not be so excited as the parents are when the house is being put on the market, right? Maybe the parents want to move and the school's not over and they got their group of friends and they want to graduate with them, and now they can't. Where would you like to be in your new location? Why is that important?
Time frame.
Timing. Have you ever had someone say, yeah, I want to sell my house? And you say, when do you want to sell? Oh, I'm not in a big hurry. If it sells next year, I'm fine. What does that tell you?
3 months away.
Yeah, very good. This year, right? So, what do you think the consequences will be if your home does not sell in a year or longer? This is a powerful question. They're going to look at you like, what kind of a realtor are you? A year longer? That's really going to get them engaged with, well, what do you mean a year or longer? Well, what are you doing? What are you doing as you ask this question? What is it doing?
Right, to price it right.
It gets them to price it more realistically, right? To price it right, because if they don't price it right, they may be sitting there on the market for a long period of time. I'm almost done. So here's some good things you should know about the housing market. All right, the housing market is doing what?
Improving.
Can I hear you all say what the housing market is doing?
Improving.
The housing market is doing what?
Improving.
Now, I got this from the California Association of Realtors Research Department, okay? They're telling me that the housing market is improving. The fundamentals are good. What does that mean for us?
More business.
We can help a lot more people, a lot more families, right? Low mortgage rates. What happened to the mortgage rate a week ago when the Feds announced the mortgage rate? What happened?
Stayed stable.
It
Stayed the same.
it remained the same. And we are at historical lows when it comes to interest rates. Today, interest rates are at 3.75 to 4.25% for a 30-year fixed rate loan. And a 15-year loan may be even lower than that, right? That is really, really low compared to when I got in the business. The interest rates were like 10, and then they went up to 18. So I really had to be a good salesperson, right? Get somebody to buy a property at 18% interest. Jobs and income growth are back. I just wrote a blog, a post I put on LinkedIn. Anybody LinkedIn with me?
I saw that you put the post on. I
All right.
didn't get a chance to look at it.
All right, I'll let you take your time. It'll still be there for a little longer. The post on LinkedIn talks about the California housing market outlook. Are you on LinkedIn?
Yes.
I think so.
Okay, if you're not, we'll get you on it, okay? You are, right? Did you see the post? Not
I
yet,
didn't.
okay. All right, so that's okay. I know who my real fans are.
Oh, actually, I did.
Yep. See, you're one of my real fans, not Stevie. So anyhow, supply is significantly below the long run average. What does that mean when supply is low?
Seller's market.
There's not enough inventory.
What does that mean to the buyer and seller? What impact does that have on them?
Easier for the sellers, tougher for the buyers.
Yeah, and what does that mean the values are doing? Prices
It
are
should be
rising.
It should be.
Well, when the price, when the inventory is low and the demand is high, values always are going up. That's just basic law of economics, supply and demand, right? All right, so share of first-time buyers are low. But guess who the first-time buyers are now? Anybody know? I didn't put it in today's slide, but I'll put it in another one.
Millennials.
Millennials. The young people, they're the ones that are brave enough to buy. Or their parents want to get them out of the house. Right? All right, affordability for renters, that's a concern for them. Anybody know what the affordability index is for LA County?
14%.
No, not that bad. This is demand outpacing the supply of homes. You see what it was, right? Oops, two of them. Okay. All right, so here's what's going on with inventory. See where it was last year? It was 3.8 months of homes, almost 4 months of homes on the market. And what is it today, as of July?
3.3.
So is that a normal market?
No,
Is that a seller's market?
yes,
Is that a buyer's market?
no.
It's a seller's market. What does it mean when it's a seller's market? The sellers have a slight advantage over the buyers. The buyers are going to have to compete for the homes. And most of the time, you're going to get multiple offers on properties that are priced right, Mrs. Clay? Mhm. All right, we're almost done. We get to go eat the food. All right, so median price home for LA County says here, 31% of the people who live in LA County can afford to buy a home. 4 years ago, that was more like 51%. So the affordability factor or index is going down for LA County because prices are rising, and even though interest rates are still historically low, the wages are not increasing at the rate of which the cost of living is going. Okay? All right, so
Hey, so Mel, if you looked at our realtor report and you looked at the number of listings versus the number of sales, that's how you're gonna get that average per month at 3.3 and 3.8.
you have to do it. I can show you a calculation for doing the absorption rate, but it's similar to that.
Okay.
Yes. All right, so I'm going to close with this. Some of you have read this before, right?
Yes.
Mr.
Have you read this before? Have you read this before? Have you read this before? So, the 7 steps to successful relationships, the introduction, how are you going to get introduced to people? You're going to meet and greet them, you're going to call them, you're going to text them, you're going to email them. You qualify them. What does qualify a person mean? What, when, where, how, why? When do they want to buy? Why do they want to buy? How are they going to buy? What's the sharp angle? If I could help you, if I could do this, if your seller's saying, I need to net $300,000 out of this house, and that's what I want. So your sharp angle would be, well, Mr. Kuzman, if I could help you get $300,000 out of this house, will you commit to working with me?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Okay, so that's a sharp angle. You're saying, if I could, would you? Got it? Problem. Problems are nothing but, opportunities waiting for an answer, right? I got a problem with hooking like crazy on my golf swing. Hans, can you help me?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's an opportunity for him to help me. So you inform yourself, first of all, about what's going on in their market, and then you're going to inform the client, right? That's what you're going to do. And then the solution, you're going to make a presentation. Your presentation is going to cover all the things that they deem to be their problem, right? And then this is the easy part, right, Cynthia? When they commit, you get the signature, right? And you don't have to be shaking like this. If they say no, they're not going to like me. Oh, right? All right, so one of the challenging part is making sure people get educated properly so that they can price their property right. I have a listing that we did an open house on this week, and some of you, I did not see you there, but that's okay. You don't want the 30, I guess it's about $25,000 of the commission, but that's okay. You don't need, none of you need it. I know all you guys are trying to minimize your income by the end of the year so you don't go over a certain bracket, right? Right? All right, so here's what I found out. As I did more of my homework, I found out that that property is not worth as much as the seller thinks it's worth. And guess what I did? I had a direct conversation with the seller, and I said, you know, here's the comments. Here's what the agents are saying. Here's what the buyers are saying. The buyers are saying that the house is a great house. It's well kept, but it's outdated. And they're saying it's going to take $50,000 to $60,000 or more to bring it up to date. So that's what I found out. I also found out that there are only 3 single-family, one-story homes in the area that's 2,500 square feet or more. So that's good for my seller. And so I told the seller, you know, here's what you need to think about. Are you okay if the house takes a year to sell? Or longer? Are you okay with that? And if not, maybe we need to either do something about it. So the seller's thinking about whether they should do the work themselves or whether they should lower the price. And I'm recommending that they lower the price. Because if they do the work themselves, their taste may not be the taste of the buyer who buys it. That make sense? So that's it for now. I want to just summarize here and ask you guys a couple of questions. Tell me one thing you've learned today.
You should listen twice as much as you speak.
Very good. You have good ears.
May I suggest that the word problem be replaced in your mind with the word challenge?
Okay, that's fine.
It's a much more positive approach with the clients.
Okay, very good. What did you learn? Did you learn anything?
Oh, the affordability is 31%, not 14.
That's right. All right, so we are out of time. I think we have some snacks in the kitchen area there. So if there's no other questions or comments, I'm going to close this meeting down for now.
I do have something.
Yes.
I'm going to be walking in the AIDS Walk on October 11th, and I want to know if any of you guys would like to donate to the cause.
Sure, I'll sponsor you.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Likewise, Cynthia.
Thank you.
Good.
You
All right.
go walking, I'll do the sponsoring, okay?
All right, guys, thanks so much. Hans, and you and I will catch up right now. You're all welcome.
Thank you very much.
Let me go. There's some snacks in the kitchen. The kitchen's right around the way, and we'll sit down.